Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, along with Tim Fitzgerald. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. Look, we started basketball a few weeks back, basically a month ago, because the Big 12 is one of the better conferences, if not the best conference in college basketball, ladies and gentlemen. It is starting to turn out that way. I know there's still competition. I know that we didn't win every non-conference game. You're never going to win every non-conference game, but we absolutely held our own this year, and it's still ongoing, by the way. But it is now time that we try to formulate and put together a Big 12 power rankings. Now, it's difficult. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying I got it all right. See, in football, I'm going to hold my feet to the fire and think I'm right every single time. In basketball, this early and the way that basketball works, it's like, I expect there to be a ton of people, Fitz, in the comments section that say, Big B, you are out of your mind.
That's correct.
That's okay.
That's
okay. You know, it's tough, but I'm going to do it. We're going to put it together, and we're going to make this work. So I appreciate everybody being in here. Thank you very, very much. Again, before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. First things first, as always, Tim Fitzgerald, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this on a weekly basis because it's going to be chaos.
Oh,
and as a friend of yours, I've now adopted chaos. I like it.
Chaos can't even begin. I mean, a basketball power ranking. I mean, we think football power rankings are wild, and those just one game a week. Basketball, sometimes a team might play 3 games in a week. Now, usually it's 2, sometimes 1, but Lord, and they can look phenomenal in one of those games and play 2 days later and look like they've never picked up a basketball in their life. And that's the glory of this. So I cannot wait. But we're going to break it down. Let's get started, Fitz. At number 16, it is the Utah Utes. Now, look, I'm trying. First of all, I will say this. I like the hire. I love what they did. Utah fans will probably be mad. They kind of they copied what BYU did, at least the model.
Yeah.
Of bringing in a former NBA guy. And like I said, I love the hire. But the results haven't necessarily been there. You got a loss to Cal Poly. That's ugly. Grand Canyon, ugly. California's a decent basketball team. I'll give you that. But they didn't get blown out in any of those games. But right now, I have them 16. Now, they could be moving up. Don't get me wrong. But that's where I see them right now, Fitz, because those 2 losses, you can't be – Power 4, Power 5. Actually, in basketball, it's Power 6 conference. You can't be that and be losing to those basketball teams. Cal Poly, that's just not going to work. That doesn't work for me.
No. Look, sometimes rebuilds are instantaneous. Sometimes they take a little while. I think this is going to be a long year, but also, when you bring in a coach the way they did, there's no context of what it takes to compete in this conference.
Correct.
I mean, you can look at it, but you don't really understand it until you're getting your teeth kicked in.
Absolutely.
So, this is going to be a process for Utah, but at least they're in the reinvention phase instead of we just suck phase. They're trying to build something new and better. And we'll see if they can get that accomplished over the course of the year, show some improvement. But showing improvement in this conference is really difficult because that basically means you got to upset. If it's the top, 10 teams, maybe more. It's a huge upset. That's how deep the conference runs.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. I suspect matter of fact, I'll put this out there. I think everybody in the league is going to upset a top tier team. Maybe not at the top of the league, but I think everybody in the league is going to beat somebody in the upper echelon in the league. That's just how good. First of all, that's kind of how basketball is from time to time, but I just think that's how good this league is. There are no pathetic teams in this league. Now, it may turn out to be that way by the time the end of the conference gets here, Fitz, by the end of February. But right now, I just don't see there being any just absolute garbage basketball teams in this league.
No.
So,
no. And if you were, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
this would be really painful.
Absolutely. The next 2 months are going to be brutal for you. At number 15, speaking of brutal, the Kansas State Wildcats, look, and there's plenty of people that always it's twofold for me. One, people get mad at me because they think I'm too hard on Kansas State because I went there. And then other people say that I'm a Kansas State homer. Well, here's kind of the deal with Kansas State. I've said it all along. I think they are so much more fun to watch than what they have been the last 2 years. But this is a typical team that when you look at it, first of all, they lost 4 games in a row after they went on a win streak, beat some good teams. You start looking at the net. You look at Tulsa, good team. I've just mentioned California. Mississippi State blew them completely out. Good team. And then you lose one to Nebraska, who at this particular time, Nebraska is still undefeated, good basketball team. And then you go on a losing streak. You get whipped against Indiana. Then you get whipped at home against Bowling Green. And then you just so lackluster. And I guess it wasn't lackluster against Seton Hall. You just couldn't make a shot. Well, there's 4 games in a row. And this basketball team is one of those teams, Fitz, that if they don't score, they're not going to win because they can't guard anybody. And if you're not going to guard in this league, if you think that you're just going to outscore everybody every night, that's not going to happen because you're going to run into too many teams that play defense, and you're going to end up losing a lot of basketball games 89-82 because you can't stop anybody.
There are teams that are bad defensively. K-State's worse than that.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally have players on the court who don't understand just defensive concepts at all about where to position yourself. There's so many free runs at the basket or, open looks. It's painful to watch as someone who loves the game of basketball. Offensively, though, when they're cooking, they're amazing, but they're now being disrupted a little bit and haven't adjusted. And if they don't adjust to things going on around them, this team's going to be awful. But
yes.
This team's different than Tang's last 2 in the fact that they seem bought in. They just don't know how to play defense. They need to be taught that literally from the ground up, some of them. Literally basic high school crap.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, they can score.
They can. No. They can. And that's the thing, though. I mentioned they could lose a lot of games 89-82. They could also win games 94-89 because this team, if they get on a roll, they can make shots. It's just no doubt about it. They can do that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Next up at number 14, I'm sorry, Cincinnati, but this is where you're at. Now, look, I had a vested interest in one of the games that you played against the University of Louisville. I thought Cincinnati outplayed Louisville for 30 minutes of that basketball game. I mean, you could watch. It was a tough, hard-nosed game. I thought Cincinnati out-physicaled basically a top 10 team for 30 minutes. But then the game got away from them late. Louisville's better than Cincinnati. But then Cincinnati turns around, and then they disappoint me, Fitz, by losing to Eastern Michigan. And I'm like, okay. Now, you lose to Xavier. That's a rivalry game, and it is what it is. But Eastern Michigan, look, I think Cincinnati, this might be a little low for Cincinnati, but that game just kind of, I'll be on. You know how I get, Fitz, when you disappoint. You know how I get, and Cincinnati disappointed me. I think this is a team that's on the fringe of an NCAA berth. I really think they are. They can make it because the one thing that we just talked about Kansas State can't do, Cincinnati can guard you, and they can play tough. It's just a matter of will they make enough shots. If they can do that, they got a real chance because this is I feel like this is a different team, different Cincinnati team than last year. Now, it's still early, obviously, I just feel like they're different, Fitz. We'll see how it goes, but let's put some stuff together here.
So you're telling me the team that's number 14 in your first Big 12 basketball poll could make the NCAA tournament field?
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
That tells me all I need to know about this conference. However, I want to point out that 14 and 15 have both lost to MAC programs. Let's not do that as a conference.
Yeah.
Let's just agree not to lose to MAC programs.
Because they'll hold it against us for sure.
Michigan and Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Not great. Not great. And yeah, I just think Cincinnati, again, this is an early poll. And again, you can tell me it's super wrong. I'm not going to argue with you. Either way, I just think they got an opportunity. I really do. I think they are a tough-minded basketball team. And a lot of times, kind of like in football, when you're tough, that's usually, if nothing else, if you're just tougher than another basketball team, that usually can get you 7 or 8 wins, Fitz. Yep. When everything is even, that'll usually get you 7 or 8 wins, man. So next up at 13, I got West Virginia. Now, here's the thing about West Virginia. West Virginia is competing. New coach. They've lost a couple games. Clemson, but Clemson's pretty good. Xavier's all right. Not great. Wake Forest is a good basketball team. They're competing. And, they blew out Pitt, I think Pitt's one of the teams, a Power 5 or Power 6 team that might fire their coach midway through the season because Pitt is awful. They are god-awful. And West Virginia put it on them. So, but they are definitely competing. They haven't really beaten anybody because Mercyhurst and Coppin States of the world, the Lafayettes, they're not the 3 teams with a pulse. They actually lost to that they played. They lost to, but we'll see. They still got Ohio State left before conference season starts, so we'll see how it is. But I like this West Virginia team. I do, Fitz. I like I said, they play hard, and just like I mentioned about, I don't know if they're as tough as Cincinnati. We'll see. But when you play hard, you give yourself a chance.
If you're a regular viewer of this channel and you watch the football ranking show, how different is this? I mean, we're talking about, the bottom 6. And usually in football, the bottom 6 are not good.
Right.
At least the bottom 4 aren't. And you're talking about tournament possibilities already.
Yeah.
Oh, this conference is brutal. It's brutal.
Yep.
I'm going to just say that. That's going to be all I say the entire show. Is every time you turn to me, I'll go, this conference is brutal. And I'll be right every time. Not used to that.
Absolutely. I love it, Fitz. At number 12, I got Colorado. Now, this is the one where I think I'm kind of rewarding Colorado because they've only lost 1 game. Look, I don't suspect Colorado's going to be great. But again, you know how I get, especially if a team's undefeated. It's like, well, what are you watching? What are you seeing? Okay. And basically the next 2 teams is that I don't think Colorado's very good. They just lost to Colorado State, and Colorado State's okay, but they haven't really beaten anybody. Washington's not any good. Neither is Providence. So they haven't necessarily been tested that much. But again, they're undefeated. But the thing for me, and maybe this is why, and this is not fair. I'll be quite honest with you. It's not fair. Colorado was this good last year. Remember, they upset UConn early, and everybody thought, oh man, Colorado, they're going to do some damage in the Big 12. Then they didn't win a game for a month and a half. So it wasn't pretty. And maybe that's still in my mind, and maybe that's not fair. But this is where I have this Colorado team right now, Fitz.
I want to believe Colorado will be better.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see it.
Yes.
I just do. They've been. I'm interested that you got them at 12, but yeah. What am I supposed to say? This conference is brutal.
It is brutal.
We'll see what happens in Colorado.
Absolutely. At number 11, again, people, come on, Big B. They're undefeated. Oklahoma State. you start looking at who Oklahoma State has played, man. Look, A&M stinks. I know we think in the old A&M for the last couple of years, that is not the same basketball team. And then the next, I guess, South Florida might be the next best team, maybe even Northwestern. Neither one of those teams are any good. And this is the situation. They just haven't been tested. Now, they did beat the Grand Canyon team that Utah lost to, but again, it's Grand Canyon. We'll know more. The conference slate will know more. Again, I guess those are the two big tests. They play OU coming up and then conference season because they don't play anybody else until they play at Texas Tech on the 3rd of January to open the season. But you know what? I don't necessarily fault them. You played a couple of teams and you beat them. I give you credit for that. A&M and Northwestern, South Florida, yada, yada. But they're trying to build their identity back, from a program. First of all, it's a proud program. So they're trying to build their identity back. So the more wins you can stack up right now, who knows what they look like. And maybe this is what they need because sometimes it's just about confidence, Fitz.
Yeah. The basketball gods do Oklahoma State a little favor here. Get them rolling. Our friends down in Stillwater need some good news. I mean, look, there's only so far wrestling can carry you. Quite a ways in Stillwater, but
correct.
Still, your football team was a disaster. You deserve basketball. I don't even know what your baseball team will be this year. That's down the road. You deserve basketball. And if they start winning, do me a favor, Oklahoma State fans, show the hell up. Younger Iva's been a morgue. Nobody's been there. It's, you mentioned the proud tradition. It's a history that's rich.
Yes.
Boy, the fans have bailed on it. No, fan better. Get out there, support this team. I don't know what your tennis has been. Maybe you're doing it.
We'll see. But yeah, we'll see. They got a little more substance, and we'll see. Next up at 10, I got UCF. Again, another one that probably I'm giving more the benefit of the doubt because they haven't played anybody. They played Vandy. And Vandy's okay, but they're not great. Pitt, no. First of all, they lost to Vandy. And then they played Texas A&M, which stinks. Pitt stinks. They've played nobody else besides that, Fitz. Even the games coming up, before they go or play Kansas, they host Kansas the first conference game. They don't play anybody. They got Townsend, Mercer, Florida Gulf Coast, Florida Atlantic. And this is not the Florida Atlantic from a few years ago that went to the Final Four. It's not even remotely close to that team. So don't go that route. However, they're winning. They're winning the games except the Vandy game. But I like the way that they play. And I like their coach. I like Johnny Dawkins. I like the way that UCF plays. So we'll see. Again, this is one of those teams, again, last year, Fitz, that you thought they were hanging around, and they just couldn't get the wins down the stretch. They kept playing these games close, but they kept losing. At some point, you got to get over the hump and win. At some point, you got to do that.
I'm not sure overall how good of a coach Johnny Dawkins is. I like him. He's a very likable guy, but he's really good at not getting fired.
Yeah.
It's like, that's probably it. And he just does enough to okay, we're getting better. And he's doing it again. They're fired up for their hoops right now, and they should be. Johnny Dawkins is an immensely likable person. At least from the outside. I don't deal with him on a day-to-day basis. Maybe he's secretly a tyrant. I doubt that. But I find it interesting that UCF is actually competing because when this whole thing started, we thought, okay, UCF football is going to be fine, but basketball, man, they got some work to do to compete in this conference, and it's kind of flipped itself. It looks like UCF could be a contender for the tournament this year. We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. I would love for this to be, again, one of those fringe teams that gets the benefit of the doubt, finishes close to 500 in the conference, and then you got to put them in. I would love for that to happen. Next up, another one of those teams that actually has played some competition is TCU. TCU, I saw them in person last Friday night. Again, I had some rooting interest. I've told you guys, Micah Shrewsbury, the head coach of Notre Dame, I grew up with him. So I don't care where he coaches, unless it's Louisville. If he coaches against Louisville, that's going to be tough for me to root. Either way, I'm always going to root for Micah. But that was a very good basketball game. Went into overtime. TCU is good. Now, here's the thing about TCU, Fitz, is that beginning of the year, I basically wrote them off. You lose to New Orleans, I was like, I'm done. I'm out. Immediately, I'm out. And then they played Michigan to 4. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then they beat Florida. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now they lost to Notre Dame, but they also beat Wisconsin. And I'm like, okay, this team's got something. And when you see them in person, they're tough. It's kind of a Jamie Dixon team. They're tough. They get after you defensively. They got athletic guys all over the court. They're one thing. If they can get enough outside shooting, if they can get that consistently, Fitz, this team will finish in the upper echelon of the Big 12. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm not saying they're going to match Arizona or BYU or Houston or Iowa. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if they can get enough outside shooting consistently, they are going to finish in the upper half of this conference, and they are going to make the tournament because the defense, it's there. They get after you. And I watched it in person. They can rebound the basketball. So if they do those things, they're going to be fine. They've got some losses, but I like this TCU team. Not to win the conference, but to be one of those teams that you're like, yeah, they're a pretty good basketball team.
I'm gonna make a confession here. It's not easy to say. Unless I'm required to watch TCU play a home game, I don't do it because the court annoys me.
Yeah.
I'm a sensitive fella, and having a court that temporarily blinds you while you're trying to watch basketball, not really what I want. Could you rethink your floor? I know you were going for edgy and cool. Look at Big B. He's edgy and cool. But you could do better on the court and make it easier to watch your team. That's the end of my rant. And I apologize to all TCU fans for this vicious attack.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Micah Shrewsbury, the head coach at Notre Dame. He got me seats. Literally, we were sitting right behind the bench in row 1. The court view from there doesn't make you sick when you're sitting down low. No. You can't really see it from that level. So I was okay. But you're right. Anytime you watch it on TV, you're just like, oh, my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, man, this is brutal.
Yeah, well, thank goodness Oregon's worse, so they're not the worst.
Yeah, don't get me. So you have trees on the court. It's tough to play with trees on the court.
I know.
It's just tough. Moving on. Next up, Arizona State. Now, look, there's a lot of people, myself included, that picked Arizona State to finish last in this conference. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Bobby Hurley, I thought that they were going to get rid of Bobby Hurley after last year's debacle, and they didn't do it. But the one thing, from what I understand, the people I've talked to, like they haven't, that like this is the last year of his contract. They didn't give him an extension. And usually that's not great news when the coach is coaching on his last year. But here's the thing. They're winning a few games. Now, they got smacked by Gonzaga, but teams tend to get smacked by Gonzaga because Gonzaga is really, really good. They do have a win over Texas. They have a win over Washington State, which Washington State is not terrible. Lost to USC. USC is okay. They beat Oklahoma. What has happened to OU? OU basketball was good. They've been crushed in the early part of this season. So I'm going to give Arizona State the benefit of the doubt because they've played some competition and they've won some games, and they haven't looked bad even in the games that they have lost. I will admit this. By the end of the year, I feel like Arizona State's going to be at the bottom of this power ranking. But surprise me. Prove me wrong. It won't hurt my feelings at all to be wrong. First of all, you look at this poll. I'm going to be wrong next week. But having said all of that, prove me wrong, Arizona State. Go out there and say, nope, Bobby Hurley is our guy. Most of your fans don't think he is, but go ahead and say Bobby Hurley's your guy, because I just don't think that he is, man. I just don't think the Bobby Hurley experiment has worked the way that they thought it would.
Do you agree with this? Every time I watch Arizona State play, they've got Bobby Hurley coaching them. I feel like they should be better than they are.
Yes. Yes.
I understand why their fans are upset. I look at them and I'm like, this should be a pretty good team, but they're not. They're okay. They're kind of like when my wife went on a date with me for the first time. I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to hang a banner, but he's okay. That's the way I feel about Arizona State basketball. It's okay.
Yeah.
I just think they should be better than they are.
For sure.
I don't know why they're not.
Well, I mean, we could say that. I mean, I just don't think they're well coached. That team last year for Arizona State, with what they had, that should have been at minimum an NCAA tournament team. At a minimum, it should have been that. And I know, I think his last name is Quentin. He got hurt at the end of the year. I get all of that. But before that is where they could have made their hay, and they just didn't. They just didn't. So next up at number 7, the Baylor Bears. Now, again, I hold Scott Drew in a high regard because, look, if you recruit me out of high school and you call my house and talk to me a mile a minute for 45 minutes and don't even let me say anything, you're my guy. Okay. And that's what happened. That's what I remember. I know a lot about Scott Drew, but I've known him for, what was that? 1993 is when he called me. My God, I'm that old. Either way, he's a great basketball coach. I think he's a top 10 basketball coach in the country. My problem with Baylor is they don't play enough guys, and that's going to catch up to them. It caught up to them against St. John's. You know, Rick Pitino, they're going to get up and down, and they play a lot of guys. Memphis, they lost that game. Look, you talk about a coach that I don't think a guy can coach, Anthony Hardaway. Lord have mercy. But they lost that game. They haven't really beat anybody of substance. Creighton is just okay this year. They are just okay. They don't challenge themselves again until conference play. They play at TCU. My thing with this, Fitz, is I just don't think you can play 7 guys. And I know they got a couple guys hurt. I get it. I just don't think you can play 7 guys in today's college basketball.
No.
You have to play a minimum of 8, probably need to play 9, even if the 9th guy only gives you 5 to 7 minutes a game. You got to play 9 guys. You 100% have to play 8. But you more than likely, I would say 75%, you got to play 9 guys. And right now they're playing 7. You're asking for trouble. If anybody turns an ankle or something, and God forbid that none of that happens, but it's basketball. It's sports. You know, injuries are going to happen. I just don't think that's sustainable, Fitz. I like the team. I do like them. But 7 guys, you get to mid-February, I think they're going to be worn down.
I'd agree with you. They better develop that. Scott Drew knows what he's doing. The fact that Baylor's 7 in these power rankings, and they may not be as good as they have been, but they haven't notably dropped off.
No.
And they're 7.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of these teams above them has a Final Four feel to them, potentially.
Yes.
This conference is crazy. This conference is absurd.
Yeah. It is absurd. It is absurd. At number 6, I know Red Raider fans are going to be mad, but I don't care. I got Texas Tech at 6. Now, here's my thinking. And look, maybe it's because I thought they would be better. The thing for me is I saw them play a marquee basketball team in Purdue, and they got the doors blown off of them. And I watched the whole game, and if we're being honest, it looked like they quit. They kept turning it over. They kept turning it over at the end of that first half. They turned it over like 5 times in a row, and Purdue scored every single time. They went on like a 20-0 run to end the half and turned a close game into a blowout, and then Tech just quit after that, and the game never – Purdue just poured it on, and I thought, you know what? Okay. The loss at Illinois, I thought they kind of got hosed by the refs. I mean, I thought that Tech, I think they shot like 4 free throws and Illinois shot like 23 or something stupid. And they kept saying, well, Tech didn't drive the ball to the basket. I'm like, oh, hell, I think it was the majority of their shots came from like 10 feet. What are you talking about? But whatever. Look, everybody's entitled to some home cooking. But that's why I have Tech at 6. Now, again, in a week, Tech could be 2.
Yeah.
Who knows? They are that good. I like them. I like this basketball team. But what I saw against Purdue, it just, how I get disappointed, Fitz. And I was a little disappointed at the way that they played in that basketball game. Now, they got a big one coming up against Arkansas, no doubt, and then another big one against Duke. So this is a team that's challenging itself. And like I said, in a week, they could be 2. Well, you go win these 2 games. Who knows? But I like the team. But right now, I have them at 6. I just have them at 6. Relax.
Okay. So if this analogy offends any of you, I'd sincerely want to say, I don't give a crap. Let's say this is gonna trigger some people. Let's say there's 6 supermodels sitting at a table, and you are tasked to rank them on attractiveness. Someone's going to be 6, and they're still a supermodel. That's Tech.
I like it. I like the analogy.
Hot, but hang out with ugly people.
I got it.
But you're not. You're in the Big 12. You're in a conference with a bunch of stone cold foxes.
Yes. I like it. I like the analogy. And that's probably a great way to put it, is just right now, you're just 6. It's okay. Now moving on, and I'm sure people will argue and they'll say, come on, Big B, how do you have Kansas at 5? They've lost 3 basketball games. Well, here's the reason why. It's pretty simple. They lost all 3 of their basketball games without one of the top 5 players in the country. You add Darren Peterson to KU, I think they're better than a lot of people. Matter of fact, I'm not sure that they lose to Duke, or they lose to North Carolina, or they lose to UConn. And the UConn game, it seemed that they got better. They've been getting better as the season went on. They kind of learned how to play without him. Well, now he's back. And make no mistake, he is a top 5 basketball player in the country. That guy can go. And if they got better, it's almost like that was the best thing that could happen. I know, well, what do you mean? A guy getting hurt is the best thing? Because they learned to play without him. The team got better. And now you're going to infuse this top 5 talent, who's an unselfish basketball player, by the way, into a team that's gotten better over the last month without him. Look out. That's why I have KU at 5, because convince me. And again, you take a guy that good away from any team, and are they still going to be as good?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't think they are.
No.
This KU team, look, we got on Bill Self the last couple of years because Bill Self had been loyal to older guys, and he kind of missed on the transfer portal, bringing in guys that weren't KU tough, weren't Bill Self tough. And I think he had enough of that. Number one, I'm not sure how long Bill Self's going to be in this. That's number one. But number two, I think he was tired of people talking about. Bill Self got a lot of pride, man. Lot of pride. And damn right he should. Because I've said it all along. I think Bill Self is a top 3 basketball coach in the country. Maybe that slipped a little bit. And Bill Self is like, well, damn that. I'm not going out like that. You know, I know that I'm at the top of this profession. Let me get back to what I know. Well, maybe they are. We'll see. But I like this KU team. I got them at 5, Fitz.
Let me just say this out of experience. A serious health issue like he had and I've had, it'll change you. It'll change your perspective. And I think it caused him to take his eyes off just a little bit. They haven't been as good. His eyes are back on the prize. He's got, who I believe, at least at this early point of the season, the best player in college basketball, who the only thing he needs to prove this season is he can stay on the court.
Right.
He's going to be the number one pick. Unless he shows up that he's injured all the time or
correct
is hurt more than injured. But I still think you pick him first because he's that good. This Kansas team, we don't have them in our top four, and yet it will not surprise me if they're in the top four, also known as the Final Four at season's end. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Nope, not one single bit would this surprise me. Not at all. Moving on. Number 4, I've got Houston. Now, think about that for a second. Just think about that for a second, Fitz. We're in a conference, and Houston right now is number 4. Now, there could be some people that say, Big B, you're nuts. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They only lost one game to Tennessee. But at right now, you just kind of look at it. They beat an Auburn team by 1. It's kind of the typical Kelvin Sampson team. They're just building. It's almost like he breaks them down to the studs to begin the season, and then they just start building and building and building, and maybe they drop a game, and they dropped that Tennessee game because they went through a spell where they could not make a shot. They just could have said, if you make one shot, I'll give you $10 million. They couldn't make one, and it happens. It happens. But that's how good the conference is. Houston right now is at 4, and I think it's justifiable, Fitz. I think it's justifiable to have this basketball team at number 4 because they're a top 10 basketball team. Think about that. They're a top 10 team, but it's justifiable to have them at 4 in this conference. That's crazy to me. It's crazy.
This conference is absurd. It's just crazy.
Yes.
I have no dispute with them being at 4.
Right.
I would have no dispute with them being at 4 in the nation. That's crazy.
It is. There's so many teams in this conference that you could say are Final Four worthy. Now, again, it's still early, people. We're not saying these teams are finished products by any means. And that could either add to it and say, oh, man, they've got 8 teams that could make the Final Four. Right now, I think there's 6. I think there's a legitimate 6 that you can say any one of those 6 could make the Final Four. Not a lot of conferences can really say that. They might try to stretch it out. In the Big 12, you can say, 6 of these teams are legitimate Final Four contenders. And don't get me wrong, just because you're ranked doesn't mean that you're a Final Four. Like the SEC will have 12 teams ranked. Well, 4 of those teams have no shot whatsoever of making a Final Four. You're not going to convince me that the top 6 teams in this league aren't capable of making a Final Four, especially as of now. Again, long season, a lot of basketball to be played, but this is where we're at. So,
exactly. Maybe the Big 12 needs to be the SEC and just kind of say, hey, you know what? The Big 12 deserves 5 teams in the Final Four. That's kind of how the SEC approaches football. But there's 12 teams in the playoffs. Well, what are we going to do with the other 4 from the SEC? It's just what everything the SEC thinks they are in football, the Big 12 is this season in basketball. Ooh, that's going to fire some people up.
It absolutely is. Don't care.
Nope.
Yep.
Okay.
I do not care. Not one iota. And number 3, BYU. Again, a team this good. Number 3. And again, it's early. They got a loss to UConn. I watched that basketball game. There was at one point you thought BYU was going to get blown out. Then they came all the way back. And then there was a point you thought, oh, well, BYU is going to win. So I like this team. Again, they keep getting better. They blew out Wisconsin. They played Clemson. Not a ton left. Clemson is just okay. We'll find that out. They play them tonight. And then they don't really challenge themselves. UC Riverside. Yeah, they don't challenge themselves. They played K-State January 3rd. After this Clemson game is their next biggest game. So this team is building. A lot of new parts. Again, one of the best players in the country, is potentially the number one pick in the draft, and he's really good. He had to learn, and you saw the thing about him that I love about the band stuff Fitz is in the UConn game. He was pressing like crazy at the beginning of that basketball game, just pressing to prove how good he was. And then the second half, it was that I'm sure he had a conversation, and Kevin Young just said, look here, my man, you're the best player out here. You don't have to press and prove that to anybody. No. Just go play basketball. And he did, and he's been a different basketball player since then. And I think that's the thing. He was just so hell-bent on trying to prove to everybody how good he was.
Yep.
And that happens with young guys. You're just not mature enough to understand, hey, I just need to go play. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. My game will do the talking. Here's another fun fact. Richie Saunders is also really damn good, Fitz. And he gets left behind. Nobody talks about him like he's just chopped liver. Well, he's not chopped liver, damn it.
He's incredible.
Jeez Louise. And nobody talks about him, but people in the Big 12 talk about him because we know, man. BYU's really good, man. And right now they're third, but they're really good, really good.
It's absurd. I mean, I'm serious. I don't even know what to say anymore. BYU is so freaking good. They've got so much talent. Mm-hmm. They're so well constructed, and they're third.
They're third. And the thing about them is I think they will defend, because if you can get your best player to buy in to defending, that's what their problem was last year. They couldn't guard anybody. They just couldn't guard. They could score and they could make some shots and they moved the ball, but they weren't athletic enough to defend teams. They are this year. They're athletic enough to be able to guard enough. You don't have to be the best defensive team out there where you can score like that. You just have to be able to guard enough. Kind of like Kansas State. If they could just guard it all, they would be a totally different team. This would be a different conversation. BYU is that. They can really score it. Plus, they got really good basketball players. They also have a really, really good coach, which matters. Coaching matters in college athletics, people. I know people think that in basketball, coaching is overrated. It's not. No. It's not. Not at all.
No,
moving on. Number 2 is Iowa State. Now, here's the thing about Iowa State. Iowa State's got the most impressive win of anybody in the country.
Nope.
We saw it on Saturday. They went to Purdue and literally beat the brakes off of the number 1 team in the country at Purdue. Not neutral site. The game was at Purdue, and they literally just punched them in the mouth, kept punching them. Then when Purdue was falling down, they kicked them, and then they put their foot on their neck and just said, do you give? And Purdue finally said, okay, I give. That is what I love about this Iowa State basketball team. It comes from their coach. It comes from their toughness. They're also kind of upperclassmen too, Fitz, but this is a well-constructed roster, a very well-constructed roster. They can shoot it. They defend. They're tough, rebound, physical. It's a very good basketball team. My only thing with Iowa State, and it's been their problem the last 2 years, can you stay healthy? Can you keep it together? Because that is what has killed them, literally, the last 2 seasons, health. If they can get to March healthy, they got a really, really good chance. Again, another Final Four potential team, but they got to get there healthy. That's the thing. They got to get there healthy. If they can do that, look out, because this is a good basketball team, Fitz. And again, I think it's the best win in the country.
Oh, easily. And I thought Iowa State would be good, but this team's so much better than what I thought. Mm-hmm. As we look at this conference, how good it is, the fact that Iowa State is 2 gives you context of how incredible they're playing. Shout out to the Cyclones. This team is playing at national championship level. So we'll see if they can perpetuate that, because we know this: once you get into conference play, twice a week, you're in for it. You got to prove it twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. So we'll see if they hold up over the grind, but I suspect they will.
I do too. I suspect they will. Like I said, health has been their only deterrent the last couple of seasons. Just health. If they could have gotten to March healthy last 2 years, we're talking about a potential 5. I think they at least make one Final Four, but they just couldn't get there. Hopefully they can get there this season. Get to March healthy, and we'll see what happens. And then number one team in the country is Arizona. First off, Iowa State's got the best win of anybody in college basketball. That's not up for debate. But you know what else isn't up for debate, Fitz? That Arizona has the best resume of anybody in college basketball. That's not up for debate. They beat Florida, UCLA, at UConn, Auburn, and they're about to play Alabama. I mean, come on, man. And now, again, they got to beat Alabama. I say they got to beat them. I mean, they have the best resume of anybody. And this is the exact opposite. And this is why I'm going to give Arizona so much flowers, because last year, myself and a ton of people, and they're lying if they said they didn't do it, wrote Arizona off early because they challenged themselves last year. They just lost the games. And so everybody thought, well, Arizona's not very good. So then when they get into conference play, they started winning games, and people are like, well, the Big 12 is not very good because we saw Arizona, and Arizona wasn't very good in the non-conference, so the Big 12 must not be very good. And then they got into the tournament, and then they were like, oh, my bad. Yeah, Arizona actually is a good basketball team, and the Big 12 is actually a good conference. Imagine that. Just like everybody thought. Well, this year, Arizona's winning all those games. And Arizona's a really good basketball team, man. They've got a great roster, again, constructed well with youth and experience at the point guard position. The guy actually happens to be very, very good, super underrated, maybe the most underrated basketball player in the country. They got a good coach. They're playing really well. This is just a good bet. Now, I think people thought Arizona was going to be good. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find people that didn't think Arizona was going to be good. And, again, it's still early. But clearly they're the best. They got the best resume of anybody, and it's not even close, Fitz.
Let me just say this to stick on theme. If this conference is absurdly good, Arizona is the most absurd of all. I will be interested to see how Arizona does in this conference, because this is typically a 2-loss maybe type team in conference play. Mm-hmm. There are so many tests in this. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but there are so many possible losses in this conference that you can lose 2 in a week and still be a great team.
Yes.
So, I'm looking forward to conference play. I really am. See how this all shakes out.
Arizona, I'm just looking at their schedule. First of all, they play BYU twice, but here's a stretch. You see how good this is. In February, starting on February 9th, here's a good stretch for you. At KU, Texas Tech, BYU, at Houston, at Baylor, KU, Iowa State.
What?
I mean, that is a stretch run that they have. Literally, and I'll say it again. At KU, starting February 9th, at KU, Texas Tech, BYU, at Houston, at Baylor, KU, Iowa State. That's who they play. That's their stretch. I mean, I'm not, first of all, I will, again, I haven't looked at everybody's schedule like that. I just looked at Arizona's because you brought up their schedule. I would be hard-pressed to find anybody that's got a tougher stretch than that. And there could be in this conference. There literally could be in this conference. I just looked at that, and I'm like, holy mackerel. Wow, if they go 500 against that, they're doing well. if they win 500.
I agree.
So, it's just that's how good this conference is, ladies and gentlemen. You find me a team, any team that goes better than 500 against that stretch, they're one of the better basketball teams in the country. I'll tell you that right now. And Arizona's going to get an opportunity to prove it.
I'm going to say this to the best team in the Big 12, at least right now. After hearing that schedule, thoughts and prayers.
Whew.
That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And again, I'm sure there's other schedules out there that are just as challenging. So we're not trying to disrespect anybody. I just brought it up because, first of all, they've played a crazy schedule already. It's not like that Arizona hasn't played anybody. They have. They just won the games. But that stretch, and those are all in a row. I mean, we're not skipping anybody and throwing some other teams in there. No. These are all those games in a row. That's who they play. It is just, that is wild. Wild.
Look, folks, if your team has anything like that in a stretch, drop it in the comments.
Absolutely.
We alert us to it.
Absolutely.
That is unreasonable. Arizona, did you do something? Did you forget Brett Yormark at Christmas? Oh, never mind. Did you forget him at the holidays? Did you forget? Yeah. Did you accidentally send him like a mean text that was meant for your friend Brett Yorland? I don't know. I'm just thinking, I'm just spitballing here. Why did the Big 12 hate you, Arizona? We love you. I don't know. That stretch you read is one of the most stupid, tough things I've ever heard of in my life.
That is tough. And I mean, if you go 3 games before that, it's at BYU, at their rival Arizona State. We don't know how good they're going to be. And then Oklahoma State, and then that stretch. It is brutal, ladies and gentlemen, just brutal. But that's part of this conference, man, is that every night you're going to have to bring it every single night. And if you don't, you're going to have some problems. And this is where we are right now, people. I'm sure that some people are going to dissect this and tell me I'm crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, as long as you're respectful, I don't mind that. Either way, it's early. But, man, is this conference good. And I'm sorry, not enough people are – and look, football is the driving force. And football is the king of this conference, or king of college athletics. And I 100% understand that. It is the king of the conference or king of college athletics. So I get that that's the driving force. But not enough people talk about college basketball because college football goes on for so long. I'm just not going to be that. Fitz is encouraged to say, no, let's talk about basketball because I truly believe that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country. I believe it. I don't have any ifs, ands, or buts. And I know that people will say, well, Big B, come on now. You talk about the SEC and the Big 10 and football being top heavy. Okay, they are. And maybe the Big 12 is too in basketball. But you know what you're not going to convince me of is that especially the Big 10, you're telling me the Big 10 has 6 teams or even 5 teams that can win a national championship in football? Absolutely not. And neither does the SEC. They don't either. I don't care how many teams they put in the college football playoff. They might have 2 that can actually win it. And you know that, I know that, everybody knows that. As far as basketball, there's legitimate, and I'm not kidding. There are 6 teams that could go to the Final Four. If Baylor can find some depth, that's another team. So, but 6 legitimate teams that can go to the Final Four. Now, there's still a ton of basketball left to be played. All of this is going to change probably tomorrow, but it's definitely going to change by next week. But not enough people talk about college basketball early enough. And I just want to try to change that because I think that's part of the reason that it gets forgotten is that not enough people want to talk about it right now. Well, this is a perfect time to talk about it because what is today, the 9th? there's not another football game until the 19th. Like, how many times are we going to talk about how somebody got screwed out of the college football playoff? I'm over it. I'm sorry that certain teams didn't get in. Don't get me wrong, but I'm over it. I love college athletics. I love this conference. It's time to turn the page until it's time for us to talk about that again. And we'll bring it up, but now is the time to talk about college basketball, at least in my opinion, Fitz. I could be wrong.
Agree.
But I just think now is the time, especially when you have a conference this good. Boast. Stick your chest out. The SEC did it last year, and they deserve to do it because they beat the shit out of everybody last year in the non-conference. The Big 12 is playing well. They are. I'm not saying they've won every game, but they are playing well. They're holding their own. There's nobody out there that's going to tell you, oh, well, the SEC is just far and away better than everybody else. No, not if you're being objective. Not this year, you're not. Not if you're being objective. You're not going to say that. And that's why I love this conference, because it kind of had a bounce back. And now we legitimately have some of the top 15 teams in the country. I think we got 6 of them. Not another conference that can say that, Fitz.
Let me wrap up my thoughts on this episode of Big 12 Insiders Basketball Power Rankings with something that just crossed my mind. This conference is absurd. It's just popped in my head. That's my final thought. It's like I could just say that every show all year long and never be wrong.
Correct.
This is crazy. This is crazy. Because here's the thing. As you probably know, I cover Kansas State. Kansas State showed flashes early of being a really good team.
Yes, they did.
They've gone in the toilet, but they have that level of play they can get to.
Mm-hmm.
They might be one of the worst teams in the Big 12, but on a given night, they can whoop your ass.
Yes.
That's crazy. This conference is, what's the word I'm looking for? Absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd, man. It's so good from top to bottom. That's why I like it. It's so good. Now, again, that may not play out as we get into conference play. We're going to see some teams that obviously drop. We all know that. But 10 is the number for me, Fitz. 10 teams getting into the tournament for the Big 12. I see 10. It may not work out that way, but I think the conference has an opportunity to get 10. And I'll even be honest. Let's just say the conference had a really good year and all this stuff. Putting 14 teams into the NCAA tournament, like when you know that those last 2 or 3 are just fringe teams that they're just kind of throwing in there, like the SEC last year. They had 4 teams that had no business being in the tournament, and we all knew it. They knew it. But, hey, we can get the most teams ever in, so we put them in there. It was ridiculous. I don't want the Big 12 to be that. I don't want them to be to set them up for that kind of scrutiny and fodder. There's no reason to it. Just put the teams that have earned it, put them in there, and let the chips fall where they may. It's like West Virginia had an opportunity last year. Like, I kept screaming, but then they lost in the Big 12 tournament early, and I'm like, you blew your chance. Turned out they were the last team out. So let's just keep rolling. Let's just keep this thing rolling. So I appreciate everybody being in here. Look, this is tough, but we're going to get it going. So until next time, we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.